The UFC returns for its annual Miami, Florida trip this upcoming Saturday, April 11th, 2026 for UFC 327 in what is debatably the most stacked fight card of the year so far. Yes, that's right, maybe even more so than the White House card in June. And if it hadn't been for Tatsuro Taira versus Joshua Van being removed from this card and being rescheduled for UFC 328, I think it would have been a shoe-in non-debate as the most stacked card of the year. But I digress. You cannot look at this card from top to bottom and tell me that it is bad. It is absolutely loaded, and in that main event we will see gold on the line, and it will be the vacated light heavyweight championship of the world. The former champion Jiri Prochazka is back to attempt to reclaim his throne, but it will not be in a trilogy bout with Alex Pereira. It instead will be against the absolutely on fire Carlos Ulberg, who will enter UFC 327 on a 9-fight win streak. He is the most obvious number one contender in maybe all of the UFC, and especially in this light heavyweight division. These are the two best 205 pounders going right now, Alex Pereira excluded, of course, and they will now clash in what is guaranteed to be a banger in the headlining spot in Florida, with someone leaving the 305 with gold wrapped around their waist. The 35-year-old New Zealander Carlos Ulberg is finally getting his opportunity to get a championship belt in the Ultimate Fighting Championship, and he has done everything there is to do and then some in order to earn this opportunity. As I mentioned in that intro, 9 consecutive wins in a row since his loss in his debut in March of 2021. He has been absolutely perfect. And over the course of the 9-fight win streak has finished 6 of those 9 victories, with 5 by way of knockout and 1 submission. And all 5 of those knockouts have come in the very first round. This man is one of the most lethal and technical, precise strikers in all of the light heavyweight division right now, and it's not even close. And in the red corner, it couldn't be any more opposite, as Jiri Prochazka only needed 2 UFC bouts to earn his first crack at UFC gold, and as a matter of fact, this will be his 9th fight in the UFC this upcoming weekend against Ulberg, and it will be his 4th of those 9 that had a title on the line. The former Ryzen champion crashed onto the scene in the UFC back in July of 2020 when he would knock out the former title challenger Volkan Oezdemir, and then in May of 2021 in his second UFC outing, he would have an absolute all-timer with Dominic Reyes, even though the fight would only last 9 minutes and 29 seconds total, where they would go back and forth tit for tat in a bloody battle that would end with one of the most insane knockouts in light heavyweight division history, a spinning back elbow that Jiri Prochazka would land to put away Reyes. And so all of a sudden he was 2-0 with 2 knockout wins over 2 former title challengers, and the UFC fast-tracked him directly into a title shot against Glover Teixeira, where he would have one of the best comeback victories in all of 2022 and submit Glover Teixeira when he was down on the scorecards with just 28 seconds remaining in the bout, and all of a sudden, after 3 UFC bouts, he was the light heavyweight champion of the world. But that momentum would be halted when he met Alex Pereira, who was moving up to the 205-pound weight class from the middleweight division after becoming champion there. He would have his first fight at 205 against Jan Blachowicz, and then Pereira would have an absolutely beautiful performance where he would knock out Jiri Prochazka to become a 2-weight world champion. Jiri would bounce back from that loss with a knockout win over Alexander Rakic, and then immediately be launched right back into a title fight against Alex Pereira, and he would be knocked out once more. Therefore, we're building quite a rivalry against Pereira, because if your name wasn't Alex Pereira, you weren't touching Jiri Prochazka. But since that second Pereira loss that came at UFC 303 in June of 2024, Jiri has won back-to-back fights, a 2-0 year in 2025, a knockout over the former champion Jamal Hill in January, and then a knockout over the former title challenger Khalil Roundtree in October, another comeback win for Jiri. And so through 8 UFC bouts so far, Jiri has gone 6-2. All 6 of his victories are by way of stoppage, and 5 of the 6 wins have come against either a former champion or a former title challenger. His resume is unmatched right now amongst the current crop of light heavyweights. And he also has more than double the amount of total fight experience as Carlos Ulberg does, and has a much higher quality resume as well. As a matter of fact, this will be Jiri Prochazka's 39th professional fight, and he is still only 33 years old. He is actually 2 years younger than Carlos Ulberg entering this matchup. And it just so happens that this bout is scheduled 2 days before Jiri Prochazka's partner is scheduled to give birth. So hopefully he doesn't miss that. But if there's anything Jiri Prochazka would be doing if it wasn't being at his child's birth, it would be, of course, fighting inside of a cage and beating someone senseless. And over the course of the 38 fights that Jiri has had so far in his career, he has only seen the judges' scorecards 2 times. He has finished 31 out of 32 wins with 28 knockouts and 3 submissions, and been finished in all 5 of his losses, 4 of them by way of knockout and 1 submission. He is kill or be killed. He is one of the most electric fighters in all of the UFC right now, and that is why people absolutely adore this man. Not to mention, he is a true samurai warrior at heart and loves the fight game and loves martial arts. And not only does he have those finishing capabilities, but he is just such a wacky, unorthodox fighter. It is so difficult for any of his opponents to truly game plan for him. However, I think it is worth noting that when he has fought the most technical of strikers, that is where he has truly struggled. See his performance against Khalil Roundtree, where yes, he did come back and get a victory, and then see his 2 losses against Alex Pereira, one of the most accredited kickboxers that the UFC has ever had on their roster. And what is Carlos Ulberg? He is a very technical kickboxer. In Ulberg's 14 professional bouts, he has only seen the scorecards 4 times and has finished 9 of his 13 victories with 8 knockouts and 1 submission, and been knocked out in his lone loss. That was the aforementioned UFC debut. And while he had a few stinkers along the way over the course of this win streak, when you look back at it and see that he finished 6 out of those 9, you can't deny that this man is more than deserving of this opportunity. And the stylistic matchup here against Jiri Prochazka is insanely intriguing if you're a mixed martial arts purist. Because is this fight style that Carlos Ulberg possesses the true kryptonite of someone like a Jiri Prochazka? Because it is extremely likely that we could see Ulberg have a lot of success early on in this bout, but over the course of the 4th and 5th rounds, because let us not forget he's not been into those deep waters before, that is where we could see Jiri Prochazka pull something out of the fire once again and get another comeback victory to become champion. We've seen Jiri Prochazka have that crowning moment. We've seen him reach the pinnacle of the sport, the absolute mountaintop, becoming a UFC world champion. But for Ulberg, that is something that he is still chasing. He wants to achieve greatness. He wants to become the king of one of the most beloved weight classes in the UFC's history, because let us not forget that this weight class single-handedly saved the entire company way back in 2005, and has had some of the biggest superstars of all time in mixed martial arts in this weight class. And now this next generation, this next wave, Ulberg, Prochazka, they're leading the charge into the future. And this fight is absolutely going to deliver. I have no doubt in my mind. And you've got to think too here, if you're Jiri Prochazka, there is a ton of pressure because you can only get so many title shots in the UFC. And by no means am I saying that he was gifted any of the 3 that he's had already. I'm not by any means. But if you go into this bout here against Carlos Ulberg and lose, that means Jiri will be 1-3 in UFC title shots, and when he became the champion, he never successfully defended. And as a matter of fact, he had to vacate that belt and then got that opportunity to face Alex Pereira when he was able to return from his shoulder injury. And with his fighting style and injury proneness, I don't even know if he's built to be a long-standing champion, but damn it, could you imagine a Jiri Prochazka title reign that lasted 2 or 3 years? It would be absolute cinema. But for Ulberg, you've got to think that there's a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. I mean, he had to absolutely scratch and claw and beat everybody just to get an opportunity at the belt, whereas Jiri has had numerous opportunities. And it's not impossible to think that if Ulberg goes down here against Prochazka, that he's going to be sent way down the totem pole. Considering all that he had to do to reach this first title shot, he'd probably have to put together 3 or 4 more victories to get a second opportunity. Lucky enough for him, the light heavyweight division isn't the most stacked division right now in the current state of the UFC, so maybe it wouldn't take that much, but you get the point. He has to deliver here. He has to capitalize on this because he doesn't know when that next opportunity could arise. These are 2 fighters that are in their primes. They are at the peak of their powers, and they are clashing together at the perfect time. I'm very happy for Carlos Ulberg to get this opportunity. I'm happy to see Jiri Prochazka get another headlining spot, and he did earn this shot back at the title after those 2 back-to-back finishes in 2025. These are the 2 best fighters that you can choose right now at light heavyweight to be fighting for the title if Alex Pereira is leaving, which we know he is, to attempt to chase greatness and become the first 3-weight division champion ever when he takes on Ciryl Gane for the interim title June 14th. So in the absence of Alex Pereira, in this new era of the light heavyweight division, what is going to be next? Who is going to be leading the way? Will it be Jiri Prochazka becoming a 2-time champion, or will it be Carlos Ulberg representing New Zealand that will come out as the victor and take the belt back to the land down under? And so now the breakdown is over. The storylines are in place. The narrative is set, and we turn it over to you. Who is going to be victorious in the main event of UFC 327? Who leaves Miami, Florida as the light heavyweight champion of the world? Sound off with your predictions and your bets for this fight down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this title fight preview, please be sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Every single week I break down the biggest and best fights and the storylines surrounding them heading into each weekend. In the aftermath of every card, I recap the most meaningful results, and I give my thoughts and opinions on MMA news and fight announcements. You can also join the community on social media at Verbal Spar MMA on X, Instagram, and TikTok, as well as like the Facebook page Verbal Sparring MMA, and you can follow along on your favorite audio listening platform where every Monday and Friday podcast episodes release there. Have a great weekend, enjoy this absolutely loaded fight card, and I will see you all in the next video.